Okay, so let's start. Once again, welcome everyone to the Green Tech Investment Conference. My name is Mathilde and I host the Pitch Night.
Now you're muted, I think.
You flipped to mute.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
now you're good.
Yes,
Can you
so I'll
repeat
just
your-
start again. So once again, welcome. My name is Mathilde. I host Pitch Nights at the Startup Club on the topics of green tech, but also fashion, beauty, and recently also food tech. The Startup Club helps connect fundraising startups with investors and advisors that can help them on their fundraising journey through our pitch nights and also our private investor meetings. So we help startups reach their goals, also with pitch deck reviews, valuation reports, and also valuation workshops. And we also offer several promotional activities across our wide network. And we are proud to count over 70,000 members in our online networks and over 50,000 investor connections around the world. So today's event is focusing on innovative green tech companies, and I am happy to introduce you to two companies tonight. One is from Sweden and the other one is from France. So the first one, one second. Yes, the first one is called Reselo, Enabling Sustainable Living. Reselo develops novel biomaterials from abundant biomass feedstocks as an alternative to fossil-derived rubbers and plastic. This company is represented by Henrik Otendal, so very happy to have you here, Henrik. The second one is called Wespran, and it's a world leader in synthetic biology, CO2 reprocessing, and protein deeptech discovery. And Wespran specializes in the treatment of industrial greenhouse gases using purified enzymes. This company will be represented by Brice G. So excited to have you here tonight, Henrik and Brice. Now a few words on the format. Each presenter will have 7 minutes to pitch, followed by 20 to 25 minutes Q&A with the board members. And if someone in the audience has a question to the presenters, you can either use the public chat and I will read the question if there is time. Otherwise, you can ask in a private chat. So now I would like to introduce you to the 4 board members and I will ask them to shortly introduce themselves. We have Hélène Thibieroz from We Grow Green Tech. We have Caterina Lurani from United Ventures, Raushan Kretzschmar from Leanox Impact Capital, and Terhi Vapola from Green Code Ventures. So let's start with Hélène, for example. Would you like to introduce yourself? I know that you are calling from San Francisco Climate Week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can see that. Well, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to meet everyone today. My background, I initially come from technology, EE, a master engineering of doctoral degree. Work for technology corporation in innovation at scale, business development, sales, management, many years. And a few years ago, I decided I want to focus more on environmental science and innovation at scale for this type of technology. So I created We Grow Green Tech with 2 avenues, working with large pipeline of startup in different fields. That's why I got to meet Mathilde and this organization. And the other one with investment firm, kind of vetting technology for impact and growth. So pleasure to be there today and looking forward to a great event.
Thank you so much, Hélène. Pleasure to have you here tonight. Then I can ask maybe Caterina, if she would like to introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi.
So I'm with United Ventures. We have currently 3 funds investing across sectors with a focus on strong proprietary technology and raising our 4th fund from early stage up to growth stage. I have a past in economics and then spent some years in doing research in the academia in mathematical models applied to social sciences. then switched to the startup ecosystem and developed some experience in scaling through data-driven strategy startups and scale-ups, and then finally joined the VC ecosystem. I'm currently focused on climate tech, ranging from a huge variety of topics, from agri-tech to synthetic bio to electric vehicles, basically everything that has a strong proprietary technology as the fund positioning itself is across all Europe, especially seed stage. This is everything on my side. I'm very much looking forward to learning more about the two pitch decks, as they are actually focusing on a space that I'm pretty much looking in details right now. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to interact more with them.
Great, thank you so much. Welcome again. All right, then I can ask Raushan to introduce herself. Hi, Raushan.
Hi, Mathilde. Thanks for inviting tonight. Hi, everyone. Good evening. So a bit of a background about myself and the venture capital that I work in. So I'm portfolio director at Linux Impact Capital. My background is purely finance and private equity. My sector expertise ranges from real estate to tech to energy. I'm also a CFA charter holder and FRM and ESG certified. And in terms of the VC, we are European early stage impact focused VC. And we are looking particularly into female tilt in the founder team, which is not a requirement for our current fund, but will be for the next fund. And of course, I'm really looking forward to hearing the pitch decks of tonight and providing some productive feedback.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Raushan. And our fourth board member tonight is Terhi. Hi, Terhi. Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Terhi. I have electrical engineering background, and I've been very active in the intersection of digital solutions and green transition for all my career. I'm a founder and the managing partner of Green Code Ventures. We invest across Europe into green transition. We are especially interested in digital solutions. We go early phase, so we focus on seed to Series A. And then very much looking forward to hearing about the pitch of today. So looking forward to interacting with the founders.
Right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for the introduction. So now we can start with the first pitch with Henrik from Reselo. So welcome, Henrik. When you're ready, you can share your screen and you can start the pitch.
Thank you very much. I'll do like this. Hopefully you see my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen. Perfect.
Perfect. Very good. Yes, Henrik Otendal from Reselo. I'm one of the co-founders and acting CEO of the company. And I'm here today because we have a society that is depending on rubber. And you can see there are two different kinds of rubber in general. There are, of course, lots of rubbers, but in general, there are two rubbers. You have a natural rubber and you have a synthetic rubber. Synthetic rubber is made from oil, and where the exploration itself is really dangerous and can cause catastrophic accidents, but also the processing of the oil to produce the rubber is really polluted with huge amount of carbon emissions. Sometimes natural rubber is referred to a sustainable alternatives, but when you see how it causes deforestation, competition with food production, and how the biodiversity in this plantation, mainly in Southeast Asia, is really poor, we don't think that the natural rubber is a sustainable alternative as well. And also driven by us as consumers, we have a strong demands on the companies that we are buying the products from. But in combination with the coming restriction and also current restrictions, not at least within the European Union, the rubber industry is calling for rubber that combines sustainability, material properties that can be adopted for specific application. It needs to be possible to produce at a cost-effective scale, and also that is derived from a renewable source. So it can not, because oil is a finite source, so that's not a long-term solution. And of course, it needs to be toxic free. But that's a good thing, because we at Reselo, we have developed a patent pending process and material where we're using residues from the forest industry. We're taking it directly from the debarking station, from the pulp and paper mill and the sawmills, and we convert that into a process and to a material. And our Reselo bio-rubber, you can compare that to a raw rubber. So then you take this, then it's like a material development platform where you can adopt this material to fit different kinds of applications, different kinds of needs, quality remarks, and that. And this is done by the Royal KTH University in Sweden in combination with Wallenberg Wood Science Center. So it's research started already in 2016-17. We often get the question, okay, how much residues are there in the world? And we have started to map that. It's not any central statistics, but so we have gone through each and every sawmill and paper mill, and only in the northern part of Europe, there are enough residues for producing more than 250,000 tons of our rubber every year. Impact-wise, here's an example. We have several case studies, but here's one. This is a sport equipment manufacturer. They are consuming 3,500 tons of synthetic rubber. If we will replace that with our rubber, we will save more than 12,000 tons of CO2 emissions every year. Total production every year amounts more than 33 million tons. Approximately 2/3 of that is synthetic rubber and 1/3 of that is natural rubber. And the market value has exceeded $51 billion, and it has a quite healthy growth with more than 5% per year. So it's a nice market to enter. Today, the companies are trying to fulfill the sustainability needs with different kinds of infills. You can have bio-based infills. There are oils from algae that you can use as infill. You mix it into the synthetic rubber, or you can also use recycled rubber. You mill it down to fine powder, and then you mix it in again. But the problem with that is not curable. That means that if you go above infill level of 20%, you cannot cure the rubber, so it's not possible to vulcanize it. But since our rubber is curable, you can cure it and make it vulcanized, so you can make products. That means you can go for a 100% replacement with our rubber. So that's a huge benefit when it comes to the sustainability part. We have a fantastic, overwhelming interest from customers, so we cannot cope with everyone, so we have selected a number one. But this is some example for proof of concept projects that we're running. One official one is the Nokia Tires, who is evaluating our rubber in the car tires. And we're also in a negotiation with a commercial contract with them, so they have come far. We also have made with large shoe brands we have made shoe soles with very good results. We have started to do proof of concept with that. But the focus areas are shoes and fashion, automotive and tires, outdoor and training equipment, because that's more of the easy part to fulfill the quality demands from that one. Business model-wise, we have a 2+1, you can say. We will set up a production where we can optimize and conceptualize the production unit. We also will help our customer with these specific rubber compounds, because pretty much each and every product made of rubber has its own recipe or compounds. So that will be a possibility for us to help the customers. But then we're in the long run, we can offer a production technology license for paper mills or chemical companies who would like to produce our rubber under a license agreement. We have a very broad and experienced team within our research. We have Thomas, who is inventor, Josephine working with the customer projects, Fredrik is a process engineer, myself working with sales and fundraising. Magnus has a long experience from the forest industry, and Chao is working with the customers to adopt the material to fit the specific needs. So a fantastic team. And so far, we have been very successful when it comes to soft funding. So we have managed to run the business with our own money and soft money from, not at least from the European Union, where we managed to attract the 2.5 million euro public funding last year. So that has managed. Going forward, scaling up the production is the priority. So now we have our own laboratory where we can develop the material even further. So the long-term target is to set up a full-scale production unit through a demo plant production, and the demo plant production will be a semi-commercial plant where we have a quite big capacity of 5,000 tons, but that will also allow us to start selling quantities to smaller series to our customers. So that's why we are looking for investors who would like to tag along to our journey. We are seeking 1.5 to 2 million euros, and that is for eliminating the production bottleneck, so we can take care of all our proof of concept projects that are waiting for material. We need to expand the material laboratory with both area, but also some researchers, and that is growing the team with business development, product management. And we also need to match the European grant that we received with 30% equity. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Exactly on time. Perfect. All right, so let's start the Q&A now. Let's start with Hélène. Oh,
sorry, I was
sorry. No problem.
Very interesting presentation. One question that I have is, so I understand the business model, carbon market opportunity, the pipeline of customers seems obvious. You mentioned you have a patent pending on the presentation. So
Yeah.
is the patent is on the process of converting?
No, it's the material. It's the material. Yeah.
So the material level then. And my understanding is, so you're looking at transforming a natural material into something that could replace rubber, like the tire. Are you also looking at maybe like, like forestry kind of, because you're gonna need a scalable amount of resources to be able to produce enough material, right? Especially when you push the entire business. So is your plan is also to kind of like work on the land, like for example, I'm working on seaweed right now. So the aspect of using seaweed for additional application imply you're going to be growing an ecosystem for seaweed farming. Is it also in your mindset as far as make sure you have enough supply? Because I couldn't get that from the presentation.
No, we are not. We are relying on the paper mills and the sawmills because they have lots of abundant residues today. So they are also looking for opportunities to up value that kind. And one idea that we have is to co-locate with paper mills, so we have close access to the raw material, and we can also utilize their infrastructure, so we can have a joint venture and that in a win-win solution, so we can utilize that. So that's the plan.
So you may want to include in your presentation circularity then.
Yeah.
Like, because I think it's a very exciting component, and more investors and organizations are looking.
Okay. Yeah.
So, no, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hélène. Okay, let's move to Caterina, perhaps.
Thank you very much for sharing, and congrats for what you've already achieved. I think that raising all that money from public funding is very outstanding. So I think I have two questions. The first one is, I would like to understand a little bit more into depth, how does the technology concretely work? So how do you exactly transform your starting material? And related to this, how do you differentiate from competition concretely? You have a slide where you mentioned sustainable and then sustainable with respect to competition, and you have percentages. I think would be interesting to understand what exactly do you mean by that, and whether you are able to create some tech defensibility through your proprietary technology and your patent pending right now. Overall, also a broader view on competitors with, let's say, a cutting edge on technology, that would be interesting.
Sure. The process itself is a 3-step process where we take the bark from the so to speak the industrial version. It lies in the big piles on the ground outside the paper mill. So we take it directly from the ground, we dry it, we mill it, and then we have a 3-step process where we are isolating 3 different kinds of substances. In the first step, we isolate betulene. In the second step, we isolate lignin. So in the third step, that's where we isolate the substance called suberin. And suberin is the material that we are producing the rubber from. So we actually have 2 side streams that we can also at least in the future, valorize and sell, because there are, first we have noticed, for example, for betulene, there are a huge interest for buying our betulene side stream. So that there's also an opportunity in the future to sell that to other actors, because betulene, you can do cosmetic, you can do some kind of cost additives, you can do lot of things with that. But that's a three-step process that we are extracting or isolating 3 different kind of substances. What was the second question?
With respect to competition, and I think also related to, that, what are the actual costs in terms of energy and emissions of the entire process?
Yeah, that's how we have calculated this. So we have considered everything from energy and input material, transportation, everything, when we have calculated the CO2 emissions. So we have done that together with a Swedish environmental institute called IVL. So we have helped with that, so calculate that the big impact. So that's the part. But the competition, the big advantage with our material is that it's curable, because when you do, like, for example, a car tire, you put together the car tire and then you expose it for heat and it gets cured, so it gets very stable. And that's also the benefit with our material, because it's curable. The competition that we have seen so far, it's not curable material. There are an American company called Bloom. They are making oil from algae, for example, and they do that and then mix in that today. But if you go above a certain level, approximately 20%, the material loses its possibility to be cured. So that's the benefit with our material. You can also use, for example, these artificial turfs you use in recycled rubber. So that will be prohibited from, I think it was this year, 1st of July this year. So then you cannot use recycled rubber, so you need to find renewable rubber to put on the artificial turf. So that is also a possibility to use our material. So that's the big advantages. And also, I think the scalability, there are some research where you have you have managed to isolate some small fractions of other materials, but it's not scalable. You cannot get enough material to replace the synthetic rubber. But with if you look in Northern Europe, you can look in northern part of US, Canada, you look in northern parts. So the residues that we can use is growing around the world on the same level as northern part of Europe. So you can put factories producing our rubber around the globe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caterina. And let's move to Raushan.
Thanks, Mathilde. Henrik, a really nice presentation. I especially enjoy the environmental impact that this brings, especially given the net zero movement that is happening around the world. So that is really appreciated. So I have broken my questions into 3 parts: market, operational, and financial, and I'm going to take them one by one. So in terms of the market, you did mention a couple of contracts that you have in place. And one specific one was with Nokian Tyres commercial contract. So is this for pilot, or is it actually a sustainable revenue stream contract that you have in place? And are there any other contracts to drive your revenue, or are you only working on it at this point?
The signed contract is with the proof of concept. So we have not any recurrent revenues yet, but we are in negotiation with that as we speak. So, but so far, no signed recurrent revenue agreement. Okay,
understood. And in terms of the operational question, I see that you haven't gone into too much detail of the financial projections, which is absolutely fine at this point. And my question is, when is, according to the management team's plans, when is the company going EBITDA positive?
2027.
2027. Okay, so that is four years away. Okay, yeah. Thank you. And in terms of the financing, you mentioned 2.5 million, which you're raising, and 2 to 2.5 million. What is the valuation and what is the funding runway that this financing is going to provide Reselo?
The valuation is 8 million euros, and that will give us 24 months of runway. So that will bring us until the demo plant production. So, but not including demo plant, but until the demo plant production.
Okay, and is this 24-month runway taking into account public funding, which you have in place and you plan to get?
Yeah, that's the total. Everything is considered in the 24 months.
Okay, everything considered, equity, public funding.
Yes.
Okay, clear. That is it from my side. Thank you, Henrik.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and Terhi then.
I would say the same. Thank you for a very good presentation. So very well done. And I also echo what was said earlier. So your impact perspective into something in the market is super interesting. And also the kind of understand. So it's quite easy to understand that if you succeed, what kind of a effect will you have? So I think my questions are more related to like properties of the new product. So if you put it into tires, how do you know that you can send millions of cars out so that it will not burst the tires in middle of a, so what does it take to kind of get from where you are today into something which is mass producible? How do you kind of validate that? Then the second question is more on the business model. So I understand that you actually want to own, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you actually want to be the producer. So instead of being the IPR provider or taking kind of what role you want to take in the ecosystem. So why do you want to be the producer instead of maybe licensing models or partnerships? And then the question, which is related to earlier question as well. So thinking of whether you could be able to get the customers to kind of, if you are really groundbreaking for somebody like Nokian Tires, so shouldn't they make some kind of commitment to you, which you could already use and work with them as a lead customer? So could you be able to achieve that so that you could lower the amount of investment? Because I suspect your total amount of investment is pretty high, and maybe the question, last question, how high it is exactly. So what do you need up to the point that you get into break even?
The first question, when it comes to car tires, we are not experts in car tires. That's where we need Nokia tires, for example. We have also, I think, pretty much all other car tire manufacturers as well wanted to be part of this project, but we have selected one because we don't have the capacity to do more proof of concept, but they are experts in that. And that will take some time, of course, because there are not, I think, at least 24 months trial with a car tire before you can let it out on the market. And that's also fitting quite well with our production ramping up. So by 2027, 2028, then we will have the full scale production up and running. And that is actually also when Nokia Tire has its new factory in Romania up and producing. So it fits well in the production and the ramping up the project. So they take care of the safety issues when it comes to car tires, and they, so to speak, okay, we want this kind of specification on the material, please provide that. So then we do that in our laboratory to develop and hand it over to Nokia, and they do the fine tuning. And then a car tire is made of 12 to 13 different kinds of rubber parts, so that we have started with the easiest part that is not so safety critical for the car tire. So we're starting simply. So that's one part of it. Another one was that you asked about the
production. So if I
production,
understand
yes,
the business
exactly.
model, so that you mentioned something about the joint ventures with pulp and paper, for example, in this case. But tell us more why you want, what is your business model and why you chose it?
We would like to be a R&D company, but we compare us with the Gore-Tex. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Gore-Tex, they are producing the fabrics themselves in factories, one factory or two factories, but then they also license the technology, and they focus a lot of developing the fabrics to new conditions, to new specifications, and that is a little bit how we would like to do it. So we think that it's important that we have our own factory to be able to understand the material and how the process can be optimized and conceptualized, but also be able to develop the material even further. But it's not, we will not build factories all around the globe, but we need 1 or 2 factories together with partners, so we know exactly how the process is working, how we can optimize it, etc. So that's the reason behind that. But then it's compounding and the license model who will be the big revenue streams in the future.
Do you need the first factory, or could you partner on that one as well? Because that would lower your capital requirements quite a lot.
It would. Actually, the initial plan was to set up our own pilot plant, but now we have found a Finnish company who can do that for us. So they are doing all the piloting for us. So we have actually skipped that step, which lower our capex, but also shorten the lead time with 6 to 9 months also for it. So now we can focus directly on the demo plant because so that's useful. But we think that at least in a joint venture, we need a factory to be able to really know, so we know what you're speaking of. Otherwise, it will be difficult to maintain a license and a royalty model, because I think that's important to have the production. At least that's our understanding how it works.
And then the last question was, what is the total investment you foresee in order to get into the break-even?
To the break-even, it's difficult because we don't really know. But when it comes to the demo plant, we are talking about 40 million euros if we do that by ourselves. But if we can do it in a joint venture together with a paper mill who has a lot of the infrastructure that we need, like steam boilers, they have the water treatment, they have all the transformation, the electricity supply, and have the facility, then we will decrease that capex a lot. But worst case scenario for the demo plant is 40 million euros.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions, maybe from the board members, or if you have something more to ask, or someone from the audience can ask? We can always.
If I may, I have an additional question because I work a lot on bio-based material. So the concern is always quality and repeatability, right? And I love the business model, but there's always a concern when you introduce any type of bio-based material that you're going to have a variability for the end product that's quite pronounced. And so I was wondering, and that's why I love your business approach, because I think focusing first on really making sure you're creating something stable with a lot of, is the right approach. But considering you want to be global and you're going to have to deal with various sources of this bio-based material, sometimes like if you look at other bio-based material, the way people try to do it is to do it in a very controlled environment, so they can have like a range in terms of certification and performance that they can offer.
Yep.
How would you see, so I totally see like the licensing, right? Once you start stabilizing the technology, but how would you control the quality aspect? Because as you say, it comes from nature, so nature has a lot of variability. So there's always this challenge, which is using bio-based material that you have to face.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good question. And we are using one part of the residues. That's our secret sauce. So we are not using everything. And we have developed a sorting method to sort out that specific part of the residues so that's why we can control it. And it's surprisingly stable when you get only that part of the residues in the process. So that's how we will control it.
Very interesting. Yeah, you may want to kind of emphasize that, because everybody that works in that space will ask you a similar question, I think.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you. Great.
Thank you so much. Okay, then if there are no more questions, we can thank you so much, Henrik, for the pitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can now move to the second presenter. It's Wespran and with Brice. Welcome, Brice. You can.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Hélène, for your presentation. It was really impressive.
Great. So when you're ready, you can share your screen, then you can
Yeah, I'm doing just this now. So hello, my name is Brice. I am the CEO of Wespran, a Paris-based climate tech startup Emmanuel and I co-founded last year. During my doctorate of pharmacy, I met Emmanuel. He was my biology professor. Previously, I co-founded an app for pharmacists. Prior to that, as a biotech enthusiast, I created a company specialized in oncolytic viruses in London. In fact, this is how I reconnected with Emmanuel. Emmanuel is an agronomist, is a bioinformatician, and a cell biologist. He's a university professor working at INSERM Research Center. Expert of proteins, his work encompasses on oncology and cell biology. He is the chief scientific officer of Wespran. To help solve industrial problems, we have surrounded ourselves with a team of experts. From the industry side, we have Philippe Berini for the energy and environment. He has installed over 1,500 plants for industrials. And we have Xavier Richelmy, who is a prominent chemical engineer. Rudy Motagian, who is a former M&A investment banker from JP Morgan with over 20 years of experience. He has been advising us on strategy and finance. He will join us as a CBO. The problem we want to tackle is climate change. More than 36 billion tons of CO2 equivalents is related to energy combustion and industrial processes in 2021. Subsequently, the decarbonization needs are enormous, more than 1.7 billion tons in 2030 to 7.6 billion tons in 2050, whereas total capture and storage projects amounting to only 40 million in 2021 are largely insufficient. Carbon utilization is a huge opportunity, representing $70 billion in 2030 to 550 billion in 2050. Today, the landscape ranges from direct stripping methods in industrial processes to biological and chemical techniques. Too few solutions exist to reverse global warming, and none is really clean. Carbon storage underground does not resolve the issue entirely. Existing capture systems are extremely energy intensive, and bacteria-based solutions produce organic waste. In addition, most solutions are not mature yet. Many have not been proven at large scale. So Wespran is positioned as a green tech, deep tech, biotech ventures, is offering a clean and cheaper biological alternative by using a revolutionary biomimetic technology, the enzymatic electrocatalysis. Thanks to an unparalleled know-how in protein annotation, we are specialized in cell-free synthetic biology. Our project started when we developed AI-powered software to digitalize enzyme selection. Our technology enables a clean reprocessing of CO2 based on client requirements. The aim is to capture and utilize CO2 to serve industrial companies such as refineries, steel mills, chemical companies, or even cemetery. Wespran can also work in synergy with carbon capture and storage projects by vertically integrating them downstream. The idea is to produce methanol to start with. Later, other compounds could be produced, ethanol, formate, lactic acid, to cater for different market needs. We have tried to represent the major players in carbon capture and utilization. There are still plenty of startups, but they are still relatively early in their development. And all these players will not be sufficient to meet the market demand. When possible, we prefer using an outcome-based CSAS or carbon utilization as a service. This will allow us to cover CapEx requirements with an upfront setup fee and charge an annual subscription fee. This is attractive to the industry 4.0 as it becomes an operating expense, and we benefit from enhanced client relationships. We have segmented our clients based on their industry and geography. For the plan we have put together, we are looking for a total of 10 million over 3 years. 2 million for the next 18 months for the setup of an optimization lab to test the scaling of the process, and 8 million for the subsequent 18 months to create an industrial pilot before being able to expand our client based on geography footprint. Of course, the funding will be partly equity financed, but also financed by debt and public grants. This page describes the parameters for our pilot, but we will not go now into details. This show you the magnitude of the opportunity. For a steel mill emitting 125,000 tons of CO2 per year, the plant will be profitable within the first year. The aim is to set up an optimization lab by the end of the year so that we can apply for patents for the next year. And by 2025, we should have the industrial pilot ready to go. We have initiated with industrial partners who have expressed interest in our project. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you so much, Brice. Thank you. Okay, we can move now to the Q&A. Keep the same order. Hélène.
A pleasure to meet you. Thank you for a great comment. I'm actually in the carbon market, so I'm fascinated by the innovation happening right now. Also in biomimicry, so I think your technology is really interesting, seems so interesting to me. It's not clear based on the presentation. There's a part that's related to green chemistry, right? Using natural technique, which is more and more done at the molecular level. So it's aligned with trend that I've seen. But so is your business model to create solution and then to apply that through licensing through a SaaS platform? Could you clarify a little bit, like, because it was not clear to me as far as
maybe it was a little bit short in.
No, I think it's just maybe.
But I agree. The aim is to put our solution within the industrial sites, and industrial companies will be our customers. And the business model is like everything as a service, SaaS revenue system. So the idea is to know less or more the amount of carbon they are emitting, and to transform this carbon into an injurious molecule such as methanol. We want to start with methanol because it's a simple molecule and the pathway is really well on the state of the art, well described. And as Wespran, we will take like this an upfront to cover the setup fee, and then a subscription model based on the carbon transformation.
So you're looking at developing specific, like building a pipeline of clients, developing specific research for the application, either methane, CO2, or a pollutant, and then be able to create a solution? That's like your business model?
Yeah, the business model is really to put our solution, and let's say for a steel mill that I presented just before, for 125,000 tons of CO2, and this will generate around 110 million liters of methanol, which is be like 43 million of revenue. And like this, Wespran will take a fee of 30% on that. Based on that.
The SaaS business model, I understand. So I worked in that space, at the kind of conversion of CO2 exhaust. This is a really challenging space. So I'm looking at, do you already have IP of being able to convert some of these toxic molecule into something non-toxic? Or is it something that you will work on case to case based on the expertise that you have in the team?
Yeah, I mean, we start from the CO2 at the moment, and like other compounds are not at this point fixed. But on CO2 to methanol with enzymatic electrocatalysis, this is on the state of the art, really well described. And this is where we want to move on. Okay,
so you already have patent and the technologies that you have developed there?
No, we don't have yet our patent. We are still working on that, but this could be filled at the beginning of in 1 year, less or more.
Okay, and then
we will have two family of patents. We have one family which will be our enzyme sequences, and another family of patent who will be on the whole process.
Okay, yeah, I think maybe I would love to discuss offline, because I've worked with a lot of technology, and it would be interesting to see where yours is, because that, right, there could be some interesting.
I mean, from everything was starting from a know-how from Emmanuel from INSERM, where we were integrating and structuring proteomics data. Around all this know-how, we say what can problem could we solve with that, you know? Instead of offering just a software, let's challenge ourselves on industrial problems, and we go through decarbonation.
No, I think it's brilliant, because what I've seen is either technology on the SaaS side, right? Or is there technology really on the science?
No, it's really on the science, basically, like, yeah.
Really combining. So the fact that you're combining both is actually a great accelerator. So, well, thank you very much, Brice. A great presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, Hélène. And it will be a pleasure to discuss with you.
Absolutely.
Maybe in French even more.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you.
Right. Thank you so much, Hélène. Okay, then let's move to Caterina.
Thank you, Brice. It was very, very interesting. I think I have a question that is similar to that of Hélène. So focusing mostly on the technology side. I'm currently analyzing pretty in-depth a solution that is very similar to what you're doing. So transformation of CO2 through enzymes and bacteria into green chemicals. So I think the big topic with enzymes, most of all, is the cost that the utilization of enzymes represents. So I would like to understand, through immobilized enzymes, cascade reactions, continuous flow, reusability of enzymes, what exactly are the elements from the technological side that you're using to actually reduce the cost of enzymes and hence become more competitive with respect to what is already on the market? And together with the enzyme catalysis part, I think would be interesting to understand your position with respect to leveraging plans from potential partners and clients with respect to having your own reactors. So some solutions that I've been looking into have their own proprietary reactors so that they can control the catalysis more in the details, but this obviously implies higher costs and risk and all the transportation matters. So I'm interested to understand whether you already have a position with respect to this. Yeah, maybe my last question I'll ask you after this so that you don't lose track.
Because after I will forget. Caterina, thank you for your question. So what we know now is that enzyme immobilization through electrocatalysis are well performed, and it has been really well published that several teams all over the world have been able to make their enzyme working over 1 month without stopping. This with with the techniques of direct electron transfer. So we are avoiding totally cofactors who can be a limit factor on a way and very expensive on another way, because we're making, like you say, on pathway several reductions. So I mean, now all the technologies are here to produce enzyme at a big scale with low price. So all these matter of the price of enzyme, I don't share with this fear. I think it's like from an industrial perspective, it's more a fear than a reality now. And the direct electron transfer can make enzyme work maybe our aim is that they work less or more one more, and to have a sustainable electrodes that we just change every month, and we can reprocess them and do a new enzyme immobilization on them. So everything is really sustainable, you know. Even the water will go through because we don't make other products that we don't need. We are going to make just even methanol. So yeah, this is what we're working. And maybe after you ask another question, I forget.
Yeah, about the reactor choice, whether having it yourself or partnering with industrial customers.
So I don't want to make the audience too much excited, but we are working on a non-membrane reactor, which is our secret sauce, if I can say, to avoid all those membrane-based systems who are really expensive and can level up the amount of problem we can have.
Okay, sounds very interesting.
And also, what you have to know on direct reduction with direct electron transfer for CO2 reduction is that we don't need hydrogens. That's very important, you know.
Yeah, thanks for sharing about the reactor. I'll definitely be interested in understanding more. How are you working on the non-membrane component of it? So, and I think that the other question that I have is mostly, what is you mentioned that you've been talking pretty much with potential customers to gain evidence on what their needs exactly are. So what are the main bottlenecks that you've been understanding right now by talking with customers, and how do you think you could answer to this? Together with a question about numbers. So I do have clarity on a couple of profit number side with per ton of CO2 recycled of other companies. I was interested in understanding whether you already have evidence of what would be your profit per ton of CO2 recycled.
So so we have made on our pitch deck, I can share with you a huge amount per tons. We know that for each tons of CO2 reprocessed, we will get less or more 900 liters of methanol, so which is around 720 kilos of methanol. So now the price is just less than 500 euros the ton of methanol. So you can make your calcul, but also in another way, we gain on the carbon capture, which is around 80 to 90 euro the tons. So we combine on the carbon offset and on the sales of methanol, you know. And after, and what we have is speak with several industrial. We first, on our business strategy, we want to, of course, focus on industrial companies who use themselves methanol in their own process. Like this, we avoid on first side, like the carbon capture that we transform in methanol, that they can use in their own process on a point. So they avoid all the scope 3 emissions of all those trucks who are arriving every day to deliver methanol for making their process going on, you know. So from their markets needs from industrial sites are very exciting, but they want to show an industrial pilot. They say, show me an industrial pilot and let's go together, they say. So now this is what now we want to do.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caterina. And now we will move to Raushan.
Thank you, Mathilde. Brice, really interesting idea, and I really enjoyed your presentation, because what I have been seeing a lot in the market around the world, and especially in Europe and UK, is that companies are trying to reduce the the greenhouse gases produced, they're trying to somehow capture them, they're trying to stop it going to the atmosphere. But from your side, what I found really innovative is that you are trying to take it and actually to transform it into a revenue mechanism, to use it instead of trying to reduce it, to keep it as it is, keep producing it, but to transform it into something which is better than it is for the atmosphere. So that is something which I found really interesting. So my question is, from the business model perspective, I understand that the processes, the electroanalysis that you will be performing is going to be based on the AI technology. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I really understand well your question. You say that for the business model? You speak? No.
Yes. So here you have, sorry. So here you have one slide where you're talking about the proprietary AI software developed in-house to digitalize the enzyme system.
No. This is just our own tool and can be used after for our onboarding tool for our associate, if I can say like that. It was really just a software for us that we use for us to integrate and structurate proteomics data and to combine them with unstructured data such as patents or scientific publications in order to get more relevant informations and to get more powerful and to get really a landscape of all what is possible to do with enzyme or proteins. This is really an in-house tool, but our business model is not on our software. This is on the side. Just our business is to convert CO2 into a revenue generating product.
And for the enzyme selection, then this in-house software that you guys have in place, what is the extent of the, like, is it the key role that it plays to make your engineering process happen?
I mean, in biology, you have always surprise. It can be bad surprise or very good surprise. So our software can be to avoid bias, to avoid mistakes, to get more relevant information on the specific situation. For example, let's speak about CO2. We have several limiting factors in several enzymes, and we avoid them just with software with getting more information. So it's really and can be also a teamwork tool around getting more analysis on our selected enzymes.
Okay, nice, thank you. So the reason I was asking that is because when you were covering the team structure and the expertise of the team, I saw business, I saw environment, energy, engineers, all sorts of skills, but I haven't seen tech, who is actually developing the software, who is making sure that it works and fixing its bugs. Is it outsourced, or is it something that one of you are responsible for?
Yeah. So for the software side, we have been before granted by the south of France regions who have given us money to develop these prototypes. This now we use it just in-house to select that, and we don't want to because now Wespran is more bootstrapped than other money at this day. So this is we continue to develop that with people, but this is not our first aim. When I present the team, it was more to how to integrate our industry solution into industrial sites. That's why we are with chemical engineers, really people who know the industry, know very well and are connected into that.
So okay, clear. So on setting it up, it was outsourced with their service contract, and now in-house. You just use it, and if you need the maintenance, then you again reach out to the developers that you outsourced at the time.
No. This is really in-house and has been developed before in-house because it has been like granted for Wespran and for the in-shell merchant center. That this now is not really a point. You know, this is really to help us, and it can be like to go quicker into more details. But I think now is not a challenge. Now the challenge is really to build everything, to assemble the puzzle, you know, of all those technologies to solve this industrial problem.
Clear, thank you. And my second question is, looking at the plan that you guys sketched out here, where you are planning to take about 3 years to develop a pilot. So the first one seems to be quite small expenditure of around about 2 million to develop the upcycling laboratory. And then the next stage going into the next year, 24 and 25, I see that you'll be going into industrial pilot where you have quite a substantial over 5 million euro R&D. How are you planning to finance this? Are you planning to fundraise for it and do it yourselves, or are you thinking of partnering with companies in the industry?
So yeah, so where you see the 5 million expenditure for R&D, there is the price of the industrial pilot into that, you know. So yeah, I mean, we can like split the amount of money for the fundraising. We can share maybe with an industrial partners. There are at this day we have several ideas and opportunities also to secure this financing in a way. It's not only equity; it can be several ideas.
Nice. And this 2 million that you're raising, Brice, at what valuation is it?
Well, we have already offers for less than 10 million, but I mean, we can discuss this privately. There is no problem.
Good. Thank you so much. That is it from my side.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And now, yes, the last feedback will be from Terhi.
So I'm the last one before we basically wrap it all up. So I'll keep it relatively short. So I think you've already gotten lots of very, very good questions and discussion. So what I would like to know is a little bit of different perspective. So thinking of your growth and thinking of your ambition where you want to get. So you're obviously working on a very, very interesting field. So what you, as an expert on this field, what are you most worried about? So what keeps you awake at night? What you need to solve, biggest challenges or bottlenecks in scaling this into the world in a large scale so that you can actually have an impact. So what are those issues? So what, and maybe the other perspective, what do you think needs to change in the market so that you get that wide acceptance into the market?
So yeah, thank you for your question, Terhi. So you just have to switch on your TV and open your newspaper, and you will see that the wind is behind us to move forward in a really powerful way. Because all those, like the EPCC guidelines offered to several governments all over the world, like constrained with Paris Agreement, So now there are several incentives all over the world to move on the carbon capture. Of course, like there is a huge gap between the demand and the offer. Really, I cannot, to be very honest, I can't a day and believe that this can be filled because the gap is the amount is too big. So that's why we want to go fast with our clean solution, and we want to move worldwide. We want to move on every steel mill, every biorefineries. We can upcycle this carbon and make huge things. So
what is most difficult on making that happen? Because on the face value, of course, everybody understands it. But what are you most worried about? So in order to actually do that in practice, what are the challenges you are facing on a daily basis?
I mean, it's always to be very, very honest. I think the most difficult in every business is the human. You know, who can come on our story with us, to bring with us, and to make this dream become true. We have the technology, we have the know-how. Now we have to also to onboard the good people to make this possible. What we are worried. I'm not going to speak all the small technical like parameters that we have to optimize. That's why we want to make a lab. I mean, the subjects, I think we could speak all night long, but yeah, there are several pain points, and the problem of the scaling of those solutions, especially when I see all those systems who are existing but are very small amount of CO2 captured.
I'll stop here so that we can move into the back to.
Yeah. Well, we still have a little bit of time, so if anyone from the board members or from the audience has additional questions to either of the two companies, you have the floor if you want. In the meanwhile, I will just mention if someone gathers a question, I will just mention that we have some events coming up. I have an event. The next deeptech will be on the 31st of May, so you're all very welcome to join. I will reach out to you. It will be a pleasure to have you there. Also, I will have a food tech event on the 10th of May. This is the first one for me. It's a new industry. It's going to be really exciting. So I would like to. Yes, so also I will say that I will be sharing the contact details about to all of you, of all the attendees, of the startups, of the board members. So you can actively network after the event. Also, there will be a recording on our YouTube channel. I will also share this in my communication. And so, would any of the board members like to say a few last words or remarks?
I have a remark for Brice. So I was wondering, Brice, if you looked at these are interesting companies that kind of follow a similar business model as yours, kind of use a mix of science, innovation, and SaaS to accelerate traction. It's on the microbiome space though, right? But it's kind of like, you may want to look at it. It's called Bright Seed. They're based in Silicon Valley. They've been getting really fast traction because I think it's very similar to what you're trying to achieve. They, again, in a microbiome, but they're looking at accelerating research, new way to find new molecules, especially in a polyphenol base. And it's kind of very similar in approach.
Yes, certainly. I
will send you some information, because in terms of investment, in terms of like go-to-market strategy and so on, they've done they've moved really quickly. So that could be something interesting for you to look at.
Yeah. Okay. For with pleasure. Are they on the carbon capture and utilization?
No. That's why they're in the microbiome space, and but the microbiome, if you look bigger concept, that's the same principle, right? They're looking into nature-based solution at the gut level, which is a lot of molecular interaction, and they built a SaaS platform around it to accelerate the adoption of this solution. So
yeah, I understand. What we do is that with our solution, what we want to do, especially, is to use purified enzyme and to avoid totally those cellular systems who produce a huge amount of organic waste, because today all the genetic tools let us know which enzyme is the best to fit each side of each pathway, And by combining all those informations, this is where we want to use them. And that's why we are like specialized in cell-free synthetic biology to avoid all the system. Yeah, maybe everybody have forgot, because now everybody is too young, but before 1940, all the biomolecule was making by biofermentations. So especially the acetobutanol chain to make added value product. That's how Israel state was making by Shane Weizmann, who discovered this special strain of Clostridium, and that's a story of our world finally. And now it's to come before that. Now fossil resources are too expensive, are emitting too much. So how we can solve this, avoiding all those organic waste?
And you see, which is fascinating, because you see the same thing about fermentation in the food and macrobio industry. So different industry, but kind of similar mindset. So that's fascinating.
Of course.
All right. Are there any other questions from anyone from the audience?
I would just like to add a couple of remarks, Mathilde. Yeah. So for us at Linux as an impact VC, of course, impact is number one filter, whether it is environmental or social impact. So in that sense, both of the companies of Henrik and Brice had a really strong environmental case. So thank you for your presentations, and thank you for extensively discussing and addressing our questions in terms of the business model. So the only remark or suggestion which I wanted to make from my side as a financier was as an investor for us, of course, business model is everything. It is critical to understand and to give details of it, which is there. And what would be really useful going forward would be to add a couple of analytics to show for us to see in which direction management team is thinking. So how could that be done? It could be just a couple of numbers on, for example, for the next 3 to 5 years of projection of revenue. If you have different streams, then to break those down, EBITDA, and then of course the breakdown of the expenses. So in case of Reselo, I think there was the breakdown of expenses, and it would be really interesting to see what percentage is going where. Okay, so as an investor for us, it would be important, even if EBITDA is negative, which of course is the case at this point, and even revenue is very low, but we would like to see in which direction and how fast and how scalable this startup is moving towards. So in that sense, that kind of analytic would give a good view and confidence in the team. And another thing is, apart from business model, especially at the early stages, what makes the startups work at the end of the day is the team. So unless the team makes it happen, as Brice mentioned, it's really difficult to make it work, to make it happen, especially in the innovative areas where you are starting to explore those things where there are not many players in the market. To maybe pause a little bit on the team slide and to spend a little bit more time there on the expertise, on the background, on diversity of the team skills and backgrounds, and how you guys complement each other in a way. So that would be something really useful, I believe. And another remark which I wanted to give to Mathilde is, Mathilde, I couldn't help but notice that all 4 board members are female professionals. So that is really appreciated from my side, especially given the female and gender parity movement which is happening. So that is really well done from your side.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your feedback. I hope you liked the event, and I hope to see you at some other green tech event. It will be my pleasure, all of you. So if there maybe Terhi and Caterina should also say some last advice to the startups, that would be great. So we can round it up nicely. Yeah.
Happily. So I think, first of all, I'm very grateful, because I think that the risk of these events is that investors attack a little bit founders with questions without really getting the time to go deep into what the technology is, because we obviously also don't have time. And I think I really appreciate that this time a lot of kindness has been present in the interaction and a lot of respect. And I have to say, generally, this is something that goes with having more women on the board. But on the founder side, I think something that I would have added in general could have been a little bit more of details on the competition side overall, because I think that for the areas that you're tackling, like you're going into very cutting edge technologies, and it's very important to show that investing into yourself, knowing that capital has to be patient, is going to be the right investment, because it's not that I can then switch from a SaaS solution to the other very quickly, whereas more there is this like very long-term view of the capital because of the scaling and commercialization costs in the long term. So I think that that's the only element that I would have maybe put a little bit more of focus on. And personally, I always try to give a lot of space to the technological solution. I understand that this is very subjective, because not everyone is looking into like deep technologies at the same, like with the same depth, but potentially maybe adding like an appendix to your deck that who wants to grasp more elements on the tech side simply can access and tap into. Aside from this, I think it was very, very valuable and insightful for me as an investor as well.
Great, thank you so much. Super. All right, and then Terhi, you will have the final thought.
I think most of the comments I would have said are already said. So I appreciate, first of all, the selection of the startups. So really talking about meaningful and impactful areas. So good choice, first of all. And then also maybe the presentation wise, I do agree that understanding the tech so that you can really grasp what's there. And I think that also the what was said earlier, looking at the numbers. So I think that especially in the cases when you are dealing with industrial customers, so even it's a impact and a positive effect in the world, but you need to have a positive impact to the business as well. So kind of demonstrating those true numbers so that I'm kind of thinking of this perspective of how do you scale it so that your customer cannot stay without it, because it's economically and impact-wise both so important that they can't miss it. So then you have a winning formula. So kind of looking at that numbers question also in a like a little bit more detailed way in the presentation would be a good addition, because that is then giving the depth into your analysis, which I believe you both probably have, but you can also think of how to present it in a nice way. And I also know that some of those texts what you had there, we really didn't have the time to go in detail in this session. So partially it's a question of how do you make those visible in a concrete way in a short time. But overall, I think the great presentation, both of you. Thank you very much for sharing it with us, and I also agree with the previous ones. So that it was a pleasure discussing with you all, and also learning from the discussions. So thank you so much.
Right, that's a perfect wrapping up of the event. So thank you all for joining, and we will be in touch. I will be sharing the recording and everything. And so, yes, thanks again. And I wish you all here it's in Europe, it's evening, but there are people from other places. Nice day. So, yeah, thank you. All right.
Thank you
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.